Billionaire's shocking wallet trick exposed. You won't believe the waitress's incredible reaction. Claire wiped the countertop, the scent of strong coffee and sizzling bacon making the familiar diner feel like home, yet it was anything but. Each day, obscured beneath the vibrant chatter of customers, she wore a mask of warmth that never let anyone catch a glimpse of the financial worries buried deep within her chest. Mia's future depended on this. She refused to let her daughter inherit this life's burdens, the weight of unpaid bills gnawing at her sense of self-worth. Her heart raced at every ding of the register, a cacophony of hope and anxiety intertwined. Tuesday afternoons often lulled into a comforting rhythm. But as she took a quick glance at the door, the sharp-dressed man James stepped inside, his mere presence shifting the air around her. A billionaire, she could tell, with an aura that radiated privilege and expectation. The way he carried himself ignited a storm of thoughts within Claire. Was this life out of reach? Could she ever break free from the suffocating cycle of minimum-wage jobs? The typical customer would create a momentary distraction, but his very appearance was a stubborn reminder of everything she felt she lacked. Coffee, Claire offered, her voice steady despite the tremor echoing through her thoughts. He nodded, his eyes glinting with curiosity. Make it strong, he replied. A playful challenge flickered between them, an unspoken contrast of their worlds. They bantered over the daily special, laughter brushing fleetingly against the sharp edges of her reality. Claire shared snippets about her dream of nursing a future brighter than the grease-stained tables that held a part of her soul hostage, until he pulled out his wallet. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Back to the moment. Claire tried to collect her scattered thoughts as James revealed a cascade of cash from his wallet, a spectacle that ripped through the hum of the diner. Gasps erupted, and her heart pounded with each flutter of the bills like an avalanche of her dreams and fears crashing together. The sight filled her with an unease that gnawed at her belly. Did wealth grant him happiness? Did he know the value of a hard-earned dollar? They fell into a deeper discussion, the kind that broke barriers and forced Claire to confront the discomfort swelling within her. Her pride fought hard against the raw truth that she was drowning while he seemed to float on a sea of riches. She wondered if he had ever known the sting of struggle, the very essence of her life that had taught her resilience. Yet, the thought of accepting help from him, a glimmer of hope for Mia, sent tremors of conflict through her. Would she lose her identity? What would she become if she surrendered a piece of her independence? Her thoughts spiraled, the diner buzzing with unsaid words and darting glances. Would kindness from a billionaire cost her too much a chance to fulfill her dreams shadowed by shame? And there they stood, an invisible divide between reality and possibility, while Claire's heart thumped like a drum, igniting a storm of uncertainty. How could she balance the desire for a better future against the haunting grip of pride? Just as she contemplated her feelings, she caught James's intensity, and there was an electricity in the air that hung like thick fog waiting to be sliced open with her answer. The moment lingered uncomfortably, the air thick with tension. Claire's heart hammered against her ribcage, an anxious rhythm underscoring the choices laid bare before her. What would it mean to accept a hand extended by someone so completely removed from her world? Could she somehow redefine her worth without sacrificing her pride? James leaned forward, an intensity in his gaze that pulled her thoughts into a whirlpool of possibility and trepidation. If you need anything, I mean it. I genuinely want to help, he said, his voice an open invitation laced with sincerity. What did that even look like? A billionaire's help? She'd seen the harsh realities of asking for a handout, and the ideas of charity writhed uncomfortably in her mind. Did he perceive her as just a blip in his affluent life? A simple waitress obliged to accept crumbs from his table? Anger flared briefly within her, mingling with the desperate hope for a better future. What if she said yes and lost herself in the process? Claire took a deep breath, the clinical precision of her nursing aspirations racing to the forefront. You think money solves everything? It was as much a question as it was a challenge. James's expressions shifted, eyebrows knitted, caught off guard. No, but you can use it as a tool. Why not leverage what you have at your disposal to push for what you want? Leverage? The term felt foreign and strangely empowering, yet laced with ambiguity. She envisioned evenings spent studying late into the night while Mia dreamt soundly, her own skin prickling with exhaustion and determination. I want my dignity intact, James. I don't want to become a charity case. He gave a nod, and for a moment, it felt like she had spoken a truth that went beyond their individual worlds. In his expression, she glimpsed understanding, that elusive recognition of their shared humanity. His answer sounded like the opening of a door she hadn't known existed. What if we think of it differently? Not as charity, but as an investment in your potential? The word spun in her mind, swirling with possibility. An investment? How can you possibly invest in someone like me? I'm just a waitress with hopes and dreams shadowed behind an apron. You underestimate the power of dreams, he replied firmly, eyes unwavering. You've already taken the first step by dreaming beyond this diner. Those dreams and your drive are worth investing in. Instinctively, Claire's shoulders stiffened. Could she really entertain this wild notion? Trust a man who thrived in a world she barely understood? What if she was simply chasing mirages disguised as hope? Still, the tantalizing image of attending nursing school, of crushing the constraints of her life, flickered before her. The idea of transforming uncertainty into resolve tugged at her core, a transformation not merely academic, but deeply personal. Tell me more, she found herself whispering, lost somewhere in the kaleidoscope of dreams and risks. Each word carried the weight of both promise and threat, mapping an intricate domain she had yet to explore. As James outlined potential opportunities, each detail igniting flickers of ambition within her. Claire realized she was at the threshold of a pivotal life decision. Moments swept past like the brisk autumn winds outside the world of the diner, customers, and her mundane routine feeling increasingly distant. She was teetering on the edge of something profound, the exchange shifting from mere assistance to a catalyst for evolution. Yet beneath it all, doubt twisted like a storm cloud. With each passing moment spent in conversation, that familiar voice echoed, what if she stepped into this brave new world only to get burned? The diner's hustle faded to a murmur, and just as she felt herself grasping at the fleeting threads of opportunity, the bell above the door jingled sharply, breaking the spell. Claire turned instinctively, a sudden chill seeping deep as the door swung open to reveal a potential threat that could disrupt everything she was beginning to build. The universe had thrown her a wild card, and amidst the fears and potential sacrifice, the stakes had suddenly escalated. Would stepping into an alliance with James lead to her liberation, or would the entrance of this new presence throw her ambitions into chaos? Claire stood poised between two worlds, dreams and dread colliding. The moment remained suspended, but Claire's focus could not linger on James anymore. Her instincts kicked in. The newcomer's silhouette cut through the faint glow of the diner lights like a blaze of uncertainty, and her heart sank. The sharp angles of a well-tailored suit, the arrogant tilt of a chin, and that all-too-familiar smirk brought back memories Claire had fought hard to bury. It was Eric, a figure from her past, the kind of person whose privileged charm masked empty intentions. Every impulse screamed at her to retreat, to slip back into the safety of the counter, to rise above his scrutiny while the world around her grayed under his gaze. But she stood her ground, an invisible barrier of determination tightening around her resolve. This confrontation had been inevitable. Eric sauntered closer, eyeing the surroundings but quickly honing in on her. Well, if it isn't the waitress with her head in the clouds. Have you discovered a way to climb the social ladder through the diner? The condescension dripped from his words, a jagged reminder of the judgments she'd endured. James shifted in his seat. Claire recognized the flicker of protectiveness in his stance, a thought that managed to both irritate and soothe her. Did he think he could shield her from the scorn of someone like Eric? She would confront this alone. No, I'm simply trying to build a better future for myself, Claire replied, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions within. Public humiliation had once paralyzed her, but no more. She would not yield to Eric's taunts. She wouldn't allow her ambition to be diminished by his presence. And how's that working out for you? He sneered, glancing over at James with a derisive tilt of his head. You think he is really interested in what you have to offer? An inner fire ignited within Claire. She had spent years struggling to find her footing. Every nursing textbook she pored over, every late shift she endured while dreaming of a life beyond apron strings, those efforts were the currency of her worth. James had seen that in her. Eric stood as a distorted reflection of a past she was determined to leave behind. Why are you here, Eric? She pressed, injecting steel into her tone. You certainly aren't here to cheer me on. His smile widened, a facade of amusement. Maybe I just wanted to check in on how my favorite little waitress is managing her big dreams. There it was, the insidious jab, the sneering disbelief. It awakened memories of self-doubt she had fought hard to suffocate. Eric represented everything she loathed: mediocrity disguised as superiority. He had never valued her dreams, never believed in her potential. And yet, she realized, it was precisely him that sharpened her own vision. Don't underestimate me, Eric, nor my ambitions. I refuse to let anyone, least of all you, define me, Claire retorted, her voice clearer than the caffeine-laden haze that hung in the air. Behind her, she could sense James observing the exchange, an unspoken agreement sparking between them, a validation of her own belief in her worth. Eric's expression flickered, momentarily confused by her fierce resolve. We'll see how long that bravado lasts, he said dismissively, though the words felt less threatening than before. Having lost some of his control, he quickly deflected, turning to James. I'm sure you can find better company, don't you think? What do you mean by that? Claire interjected, emboldened by her own growing empowerment. Just a suggestion to keep your social standing in check. You're playing with fire to think that you belong here, Eric said, a challenge now hanging thick in the air. Eric strode away. Claire's heart raced not with defeat, but exhilaration. Each step she took within the diner held more weight than moments before. It wasn't just the engagement with Eric. It was a confrontation with her own self-doubt, a testament to how far she had come and a reminder of the resilience she needed to forge ahead. James leaned in, uttering softly, "You didn't back down. That was remarkable." Claire met his gaze, the heaviness of ambition and fear now merging into one. The stakes had shifted with this defining moment, and a new resolve surged within her. "Now, tell me about that investment you mentioned," she said, certainty anchoring her words. The layers separating her dreams from reality began to thin, and the doors of opportunity creaked open wider. Yet in the back of her mind loomed a whisper of warning. Would stepping onto this new path lead her to that long-desired life, or was it simply the precursor to greater trials ahead? The anticipation electrified the air around her, but she was determined to face whatever came next. As Claire prepared to dive deep into her future, an unexpected message pinged on her phone, a name that could unravel everything she was carefully constructing. Who was reaching out, and what could it mean for her burgeoning ambitions? The pulsating vibrations of Claire's phone interrupted her thoughts, carving a trench of uncertainty deep in the momentum she had just built. She hesitated, staring at the screen where her heart sank further with each passing moment. The name flashing was one she had promised herself she would never entertain again. Jenna. The dark cloud of nostalgia and unresolved feelings hung heavily, pushing her to the brink of retreat. There it sat, an invitation from her past, both a reminder and a threat to her freshly forged determination. They had shared a life once, intertwined in dreams and ambitions, but all it took was one fateful decision on Jenna's part to sever that bond. A decision that had left Claire battered but ultimately resilient. Now, with the potential for a new life hanging in the balance, Claire had to confront whether inviting this specter back into her life was worth the risk. "Are you okay?" James's voice cut through her reverie, his concerned expression grounding her swirling thoughts. He had been waiting for more than just clarity from her. It felt like a lifeline amidst reeling chaos. "I just need a moment," she managed to reply, her eyes still fixed on the screen. A wave of emotions surged through her: guilt, confusion, anger. Could she really risk everything she had rebuilt for a fleeting connection? She needed to analyze her circumstances objectively, to remind herself that control was within her grasp. Reflecting on the confrontation with Eric, She felt a surge of empowerment. She refused to allow anyone to dictate her future, least of all someone from a time when her voice had been silenced. The inner voice that once echoed self-doubt now urged her forward, asking, what did she truly want? Claire smiled to herself, grasping her phone tightly. The sensation of yanking away the power the message held was intoxicating. She wouldn't respond, not yet. She had the right to prioritize her growth over the pull of an unstable relationship. But that didn't erase the question filtering through her mind. What if Jenna represented an opportunity for something more valuable than friendship? Why was she messaging you? James's inquiry yanked her back into the present. The earnestness in his tone made her realize how much he genuinely cared about her path. Just someone from my past, she replied, attempting to dismiss the weight. The implications of her response nagged at her, but she wasn't ready to open that chapter of vulnerability. As James leaned closer, Claire felt that familiar stir of trust. With every passing moment, she sensed the layers of their connection deepening, driven by their mutual respect for ambition, dreams, and struggles. His presence felt like an anchor amid the myriad of past uncertainties crashing around her. Everything they could build felt achievable, solid, real. Why not tell me about your plans instead? What are you hoping for? His eyes, filled with quiet determination, dared her to pull her focus back towards the future she was striving for. Claire took a deep breath, grounding herself in the reality of the moment. She was at a crossroads, and while the whispers of her past threatened to distract her, they were not representative of whom she was now. No longer the pretty waitress in Eric's demeaning narrative. Her education was coming to a head, and every hour spent studying was chipping away at a destiny that didn't align with her dreams. I want to use my nursing degree to help people, really help people, she said, the weight of her convictions flooding through her. I want to work in underserved communities, find innovative solutions, and create more than just a paycheck. A spark ignited in James's eyes, fueling her enthusiasm. That's ambitious, I admire that. Claire continued, fueled by the intoxicating allure of possibility. Each word felt like a building block in her new identity. I want to start with programs that support mental health awareness. It's so crucial, especially in the communities that are often overlooked. And I want to draw connections between care and practicality, a bridge over the assumptions surrounding healthcare. The fire within her crackled to life. Every moment spent away from the fear and doubt felt like a self-conquest. But beneath her ambition lay the whisper of uncertainty. Unbeknownst to Claire, Eric's condescension had not just reignited self-belief. It had also stirred fragmented aspects of her past that clung like shadows. As she spoke passionately about her aspirations, Jenna's message lingered at the corners of her mind, an opening to a future woven with both dreams and the potential for chaos. With a shake of her head, she swept aside the remnants of doubt. She had built this moment, the threads of her ambition intertwined with the richness of her experiences. A purpose-driven path stretched before her, yet the weight of Jenna's reach preyed incessantly at her consciousness. Could she face the upcoming tide, or would one simple message be the catalyst that unraveled every thread she had fought so hard to weave? A new message pinged across her phone, this time intensifying the sense of disbelief lurking within her. Was her past prepared to spill into her carefully curated future, threatening to draw her into an arena that demanded very different armor? The path ahead was becoming murkier, with revelations whispering their urgency. What awaited Claire at the intersections of her past choices? The tension in Claire's chest tightened as she swiped the notification, half expecting a digital reminder of her past entanglements. Instead, it was just a social media update from an old acquaintance, but the sudden rush of adrenaline reminded her of the precariousness of her situation. The specter of Jenna was still looming, an uninvited guest in the corners of her mind, and she felt the impending choice pressing against her like a wall. Do you want me to take a look? I can help you draft a response, James offered, his voice steady but laced with the acceptance of the weightiness he knew Claire felt. No, not yet, she replied, pushing back against the urge to dive into the chaos of that message. I appreciate you, but I need to figure this out independently first. There was something inside her, maybe the remnants of a challenge, that insisted on her facing her own decisions free from anyone's influence. Even James's kind intentions felt like well-meaning intrusion at that moment. As they continued their conversation, Claire felt the air between them crackle with a shared understanding of ambition and aspiration. She spoke of her dreams in vivid detail, awakening not just the essence of her plans, but also the realization that she had a voice now. With every word, she dismantled the narratives that had once constrained her, revealing layers of strength that had long been suppressed. She reflected on the months of struggle, the way isolation had once infected her spirit like a poison. Each late-night study session, every sacrifice, everything was a calculated investment in her future. Claire had not come this far to let one phone call pull her under. She was ready to build bridges, not demolish them. The notion sent a shiver down her spine. Could rekindling a connection with Jenna lead to the chaos she feared? Or was there a bigger picture to consider? Each thread she had woven into her current life tangled more with the memories of Jenna, like frayed yarn clashing against a canvas of clarity. You know, Claire, it's okay to be conflicted. James's voice snapped her from her reverie, revealing fresh vulnerability in his own admission. It dawned on her that perhaps he was encouraging her to seek her truth without the stain of judgment. I think you're on the right path. Just keep in mind, sometimes you have to confront the past to fully embrace the future. His words resonated deeply within her. The idea that confronting Jenna could be necessary, that it was part of her journey, not merely a distraction, kindled a flicker of courage she hadn't recognized within herself before. What if I reached out? She wondered aloud, her thoughts tumbling like autumn leaves in an unpredictable breeze. What if I could ask Jenna what she wanted and clarify where I stand? Not to invite her back in, but to understand my feelings? Sometimes the hardest conversation can lead to the most clarity, James murmured. You have to do what feels right for you, though. Just keep your goals in mind. His faith in her was grounding. But did she have the courage for such an encounter? She reflected on the inevitable confrontation that would arise. Could she assert the value of her own growth against an echo of a past that might still rattle her? What if Jenna was still the same person that had contributed to her self-doubt? Lost in thought, Claire's hand hovered over the phone. How different would her response be if Jenna reached out for an honest conversation rather than a rekindling of old flames? With newfound resolve, she began mentally drafting how to approach the situation, preparing to set boundaries. She envisioned the conversation, how she would establish her terms and reinforce her commitment to her future. It would be a solid reminder that she was no longer the girl trapped in the shadows of someone else's choices. Just as she steeled herself for this mental rehearsal, a new notification rang out, more urgent than the last. It was a direct message from Jenna, and the simple preview sent a wave of uncertainty ricocheting through her. Here it was the moment of truth. Claire felt the pull of destiny mixed precariously with fear. The message read, "Can we talk? I need to explain." In that instant, Claire understood that the decisions she had deferred were about to unfold against her will. She could see the tide of her past rushing forward, ready to either drown her ambitions or reshape her narrative entirely. No longer just a question of connection. This was about mastering her own story, the heart of who she was now. The moment had come. Would she embrace the chaos, or would she emerge transformed, stronger, and undeterred? A flicker of determination sparked within her as she steadied her breath, preparing to confront the very essence of her past. What lay behind the message? Was it an opportunity to reclaim her voice, or just another layer of complication? The answer beckoned. Claire had reached the edge of her next challenge. Claire's finger brushed the screen as she hesitated, drawing a deep breath to anchor herself. The notification flickered under the weight of her uncertainty, a palpable tension thrumming through her veins. The question of whether to respond consumed her thoughts, a battle between the allure of revisiting a turbulent past and the promise of her burgeoning future. After a moment of internal wrestling, she swiftly locked her phone, shielding herself from distractions. The outside world, filled with thrumming city sounds and the bustle of life, seemed to recede as she embarked on a deeper journey within. What did she truly desire? The notion of reaching back out to Jenna felt at once thrilling and terrifying, embodying the essence of growth she had fought so hard to claim. With a firm resolve, Claire settled into her workspace, the sun spilling through the window, illuminating the remnants of her dreams scattered across sticky notes and sketches. This sanctuary was a testament to her evolution, evidence of a painstaking climb toward a new version of herself. Her progress was marked by bold declarations of intent, commitments she had made to herself while grappling with fear, shame, and betrayal. As she began to write, thoughts cascaded onto the page. She crafted a blueprint for the conversation, her mind drifting to reflect on who Jenna truly represented in her life. Was Jenna an embodiment of past insecurities or a friend who had once ignited her spirit? Claire realized that the memories tied to Jenna were layered, intertwining anger with nostalgia. That complexity was eventually what she needed to navigate. Fingers poised above the keyboard, she let her thoughts crystallize. She had established her worth throughout the long nights of hard work and sacrifice, and yet the specter of Jenna still loomed like a dark cloud threatening her blue sky. Could this interaction unlock old fears, or was it a chance to stand tall, to redefine the narrative? Claire found solace in her ability to approach this with newfound power. Jenna, she typed, pausing multiple times, words tumbling over her understanding of the present. She considered how genuine vulnerability could penetrate the barriers. I think we need to talk, but I want to establish some boundaries first. Each keystroke heightened her awareness of her own voice and the gravity of her emerging convictions. Midway through her draft, Claire's phone vibrated again. Ignoring it, she pushed forward, focusing on articulating her feelings. She tackled her fear head-on, visualizing the conversation as a stepping stone. It was a bridge to walk across, one that would lead her toward reclaiming her strength rather than retreating into vulnerability. Moments later, she allowed her mind to wander into what could happen next. Would Jenna be receptive to her candidness? Would there be a glimmer of acknowledgement for the growth Claire had achieved? The tension in her chest shifted to a flicker of excitement. The idea of connecting yet again didn't feel so burdensome anymore. Instead, it was a moment of potential empowerment, allowing her to craft the terms of their exchange. As she typed the final lines, a rush of adrenaline coursed through her. This was more than just a conversation. It was a declaration of her journey thus far, a testament to her resilience and growth. No matter the outcome, she realized she could navigate this with clarity and purpose. It was time to embrace whatever uncertainties awaited her. Finished, she stared at the screen, her heart racing in anticipation. Her thumb hovered over the send button, a threshold between the past and the possibilities that lay ahead. Should she risk it all, re-entering the arena of a past tumultuous and bittersweet? Every fiber of her being screamed that she was ready, that she had the strength to engage with the echoes of her past. The power of choice was within her reach. Lost in her thoughts, Claire abruptly felt a sense of clarity wash over her. The dialogue of uncertainty no longer dominated her mind. Here, she stood on firm ground, ready for whatever Jenna had to say in response. As she exhaled slowly, releasing the lingering tension, she pressed send. What could Jenna possibly reveal that could alter the trajectory of her carefully constructed narrative? A new wave of apprehension flooded through her as she waited, her pulse quickening. The confrontation loomed larger, and with it, the prospect of a future she had yet to explore. Was this the moment everything would change? Claire's heart thudded against her ribcage as she stared at the screen, waiting for a response that felt simultaneously significant and daunting. The room around her faded into a blur as inundating thoughts raced through her mind. Each passing second felt like an eternity, a heavy pulse of apprehension trailing her every breath. What if Jenna ignored her? What if her message prompted a confrontation filled with unresolved emotions? Claire's journey over the past year had transformed her. She had meticulously rebuilt the foundations of her self-worth, but now it felt like a delicate glass tower, vulnerable to the tempest of their shared past. Determined not to slip back into doubt, she took a moment to reaffirm her commitment to herself. The sun warmed the side of her face, a comforting reminder that hope lingered at every intersection of the past and present. As she waited, her mind drifted to her new project, a graphic novel reflecting her journey through hardships and self-discovery. The characters she created were imbued with the struggles and triumphs she had faced, each stroke of her pen a tribute to the battle she had fought within herself. Just then, her phone buzzed. Claire jumped slightly, then urged herself to stay calm and collected. This was it. She glanced down at the notification and her heart raced anew. Taking a deep breath, she opened Jenna's message. "It's about time we talked. I agree on the boundaries. Can we meet? You know where to find me." A wave of conflicting emotions surged through Claire. Relieved, yet apprehensive, she processed Jenna's terse words. It was the opening she not just hoped for but dreamt of. She sat back in her chair, allowing herself a moment to reflect. Was she truly prepared for this? Every instinct whispered caution, but something deeper stirred within her. Yes, she embraced her new identity. But this conversation had the potential to shatter the fragile resolve she worked so hard to establish. Yet, another part of her resonated with newfound courage. Claire recognized perhaps for the first time that acknowledging her past did not equate to relinquishing her progress. It was a chance to assert her boundaries and, in turn, fortify her growth. Taking quick notes on her notepad, she outlined her objectives for the upcoming conversation. What would she say? What emotions might surface? She needed to ensure she articulated her experiences clearly, harnessing her capacity for honest expression without sacrificing her hard-earned strength. Claire found herself in a state of exhilarating anxiety as she set a date to meet Jenna. It was time to confront the shadows of her past, to unearth the truths that had loomed over her for far too long. This would not just be a discussion. It was an opportunity to reclaim ownership over her story, a chance to rewrite the narrative they had once shared. As the meeting loomed closer, Claire's resolve began to solidify. She committed to practicing her inner dialogue, rehearsing her points in the mirror with assertive conviction. Each articulation of her boundaries reinforced her identity, carving deeper channels of self-assurance. Days melted into a rhythm of anticipation and hesitation, each morning threading the same sundial of emotions. Her evenings transformed into late-night brainstorm sessions, reshaping her responses, articulating her realities an artist sculpting clay on the brink of a masterpiece. In this creative space, she tethered her fears to her aspirations, tethering together all the fractured parts of herself. But then, on a quiet evening, a nagging thought flickered through her mind like a hesitant flame. What if Jenna had changed too? What if she was no longer the same person Claire remembered? Would that revelation resonate with the heaviness of disappointment? As she prepared herself for the confrontation, Claire realized that each interaction posed a risk of discovery of herself, of Jenna, and of the shifting patterns of their history. What awaited at their meeting was more than a conversation. It was a crossroads engraved with the potential for both healing and rejection. Yet, the journey of self-discovery demanded that she be willing to confront whatever uncertainty lay ahead. As the meeting approached, Claire found herself standing at the precipice of vulnerability and strength, poised for the dialogue that could alter the trajectory of her carefully constructed narrative. She felt the weight of expectations, but the exhilaration of possibility coursed through her. Could this engagement be the catharsis she so deeply yearned for, or merely another hurdle to overcome? Sage whispered promises of personal growth intertwined with the thrill of confrontation. The moment of truth was close at hand? One final question lingered in the air. Could Claire truly embrace whatever the future held, even if that meant dismantling everything she thought she knew? Claire stepped into the cafe, the familiar scent of roasted coffee wafting through the air, mingling with her apprehension. Each table was a memory, a ghost of past conversations and shared laughter that felt both comfortable and suffocating. She scanned the room, her heart racing at the sight of Jenna sitting in their usual spot, fidgeting with her phone. The weight of their history settled heavily on Claire's shoulders, yet she felt a flicker of determination coursing through her. Today was not just about reconciliation, it was about self-affirmation. As Claire took a deep breath to steady herself, she reminded herself what had brought her to this moment. Her journey of self-worth and the graphic novel she was crafting, a narrative that encompassed her struggles and victories. This meeting was another page in her story, one she was now ready to write. "Hey," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. Jenna looked up, her expression a mix of relief and uncertainty. The silence that followed was pregnant with unspoken words, each second stretching painfully. Claire had rehearsed for this moment, but now that she was here, an unexpected wave of vulnerability crashed over her. "Thanks for meeting me," Jenna finally said, her tone softer than Claire had anticipated. They both shifted in their seats, the undercurrents of shared history simmering between them. It was Claire's opportunity, not only to confront the past, but to boldly declare her present. I wanted to talk about boundaries. Claire dove into the deep end, her voice imbued with a new assertiveness. Giving space to each other has been important, but I want to ensure we're both on the same page moving forward. Jenna's expression flickered with recognition, as if she was processing Claire's words profoundly. The past was there alongside them, but this time, Claire was not stepping back into it. She was stepping up to it. I understand, Jenna replied, her voice wavering. I know we've had our problems, and I don't want to just gloss over that. This acknowledgement hung in the air between them, a testament to Claire's bravery in standing her ground. As they talked, Claire began to notice subtle shifts within herself. Each moment of honesty with Jenna allowed her to reclaim pieces of herself she had thought lost. They navigated through painful memories, Claire articulating how those experiences had shaped her not just as a friend, but as a person. This newfound clarity fortified her voice, transforming nervousness into purpose. At one point, Claire recalled a specific incident that had nearly shattered her. You may not have seen it then, but when you chose to leave my side during that tough time, it felt like I lost a piece of myself, she confessed. A look of regret washed over Jenna's face. I had my reasons, but it doesn't excuse my actions. I see that now. The honesty of this exchange, though fraught with emotion, felt liberating to Claire. Each confession stripped away layers of resentment, exposing not just wounds but the resilience that emerged from them. With each passing minute, Claire's confidence burgeoned. She had envisioned this dialogue as an assault on her newfound identity. Now it felt like a celebration of it. They were not merely revisiting old wounds. They were giving voice to scars, healing in ways Claire never anticipated. As their conversation drew toward a close, Claire felt an unexpected weight lift. This dialogue had not just been about boundaries, but about granting herself the grace to let go. Jenna looked at her, searching for a connection, a hint of the friendship they had once shared. Claire, can we rebuild? Jenna's question hung in the air, fraught with possibility and vulnerability. The world outside seemed to fade as silence enveloped their table. Claire's heart thrummed with a new rhythm. Could she take this leap? The notion of forgiveness and rebuilding loomed large, rich with uncertainty, but also ripe with potential. Maybe, Claire breathed, contemplating the journey ahead. She realized then that the path to rebuilding trust would not just depend on Jenna's willingness, but on her own, a testament to her growth. Jenna smiled softly, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. But what lay on the horizon felt profoundly unclear. Could she truly navigate this new chapter without unraveling everything she had rebuilt? Emboldened with purpose but shadowed by second thoughts, Claire exited the cafe, her heart split between hope and hesitation. Would the walls she had carefully constructed withstand the waves of their shared history? The journey to reclaiming her narrative was just beginning, but the battle was far from over. Could Claire embrace the complexities of forgiveness in a way that wouldn't undo her hard-earned growth? The streets outside the cafe felt different as Claire stepped through the door, the vibrant sounds of the city surrounding her in stark contrast to the intimate silence she had just shared with Jenna. Each footfall pulsed with a newfound sense of purpose, the weight of uncertainty still lingering, but gradually giving way to the promise of what lay ahead. As she walked, her thoughts spiraled back to the conversation, dissecting each moment, savoring the taste of honesty. The weight had shifted. Claire recognized that she had moved beyond merely seeking reassurance. She was beginning to accept her own worth and the power of her voice. This realization sparked a core of energy within her, energizing her toward her next creative endeavor, a graphic novel that delved deeply into resilience. Exploring the very battles she had faced and conquered, the idea of sharing her journey filled her with both excitement and dread. What if she laid bare her soul, only to be met with judgment? Each line she envisioned in her novel echoed with vulnerability, yet the thought of others finding solace in her story drove her forward. Writing was not just about her healing, but also about connecting with those who felt lost, those who needed a reminder that they weren't alone. Arriving at her small apartment later that afternoon, Claire pushed open the door and sank into her writing nook, a modest space adorned with sketches and quotes that had sustained her through hard times. She picked up her sketchbook, fingers poised over the empty page, brimming with conceptual images and plot ideas. But the pressure to form those ideas into coherent words felt immense. Claire questioned whether she could convey the complexity of her emotions in a way that would resonate. Before she could second-guess herself, she bit the bullet and began writing, her pen gliding across the page as she chronicled Jenna's departure from her life and the isolation that followed. The words seemed to flow seamlessly, transforming into a cathartic release. Each stroke of her pen was not just a recounting of events, but an affirmation of her growth. Yet her momentum faltered when she arrived at the part where she considered inviting Jenna back into her life. Was she truly ready? A swell of anxiety washed over Claire. She needed time to adapt this new reality of evolving from mere acquaintances back into friends. But what if it meant losing the progress she had fought to achieve? Doubt started to seep in like encroaching shadows. Would reopening the door to their friendship mean stepping back into the very pain she'd just worked through? Could her desire for connection ultimately lead to her undoing? Claire leaned back in her chair, closing her eyes to gather her thoughts. The question lingered. How could she honor her past while allowing space for a new beginning? She refused to let fear dictate her choices, but the idea of potential heartache loomed ominously like an unresolved plot twist. As she rummaged through her sketches for inspiration, a small comic panel caught her eye. It depicted a phoenix rising from ashes, colorful and vibrant against a backdrop of gray. Claire felt a spark. Perhaps this was the crux of her narrative, a story that embraced rebirth, that illuminated the messiness of human connections. But it was still clear that the pivotal moment lay ahead. The decision to extend an olive branch to Jenna wasn't just about forgiveness. It was about deciding to forge her path without the chains of past experiences weighing her down. Claire took a deep breath, her resolve firming once more. She would craft this story as a reflection of her journey, with all its intricacies and unpredictability. But first, she needed clarity regarding her own feelings. Could she allow herself to open that door knowing she may not walk through it? The realization settled heavily, but was tinged with excitement. Claire knew it was time for another conversation with Jenna, one where she could firmly yet gently re-establish boundaries and explore the possibility of rebuilding trust. Tomorrow she would call Jenna. As that thought settled into her mind, the horizon seemed less daunting. This time, Claire would be clear about her needs and intentions. With renewed determination, Claire readied her notes and sketches, knowing that navigating her past was not about erasing it, but redefining it. Tomorrow's conversation with Jenna would be another critical plot point in her graphic novel, a vibrant intersection of past hurts and future possibilities. And as Claire turned off the light and prepared for bed, she felt a shift that excited her, though the shadows of doubt remained. They wouldn't hold her back any longer. Could Claire find a way to embrace her future while honoring her past? Claire emerged from the diner, the sun casting a warm glow on her face, illuminating the transformative journey of her life. The encounter with Jenna had been a storm of emotions, but it had crystallized what she stood for: resilience, empowerment, and the relentless pursuit of her dreams. She had stepped boldly into the fray, confronting her past with a courage that felt both alien and exhilarating. With each step toward her apartment, a sense of lightness enveloped her. Claire reflected on how she had stood her ground that day, asserting her boundaries while rekindling the flicker of hope for a patched relationship. The acknowledgement from Jenna that they both had wounds to heal had sparked an urgency within her, a fire to elevate her voice even further. Now, she was ready to channel this energy into her graphic novel, a project that resonated with her deepest aspirations. No longer merely a desire to tell her story, it was a way to claim her narrative, to illustrate not only her struggles, but also her victories. Each stroke of the pen was a celebration of growth, a rebellion against self-doubt. Claire had conquered the debilitating fear of not being enough. The moment she reached her desk, all the pieces fell into place. The sketches she had accumulated over the months blurred into an image of empowerment. The vivid colors represented not just the tumult of emotions, but a journey of recovery, a phoenix rising from ashes. Embodying her narrative, as she started drafting the script, an exhilarating clarity washed over her. With each scene she penned, she infused the pages with her journey of pushing through adversity. Readers would witness the pivotal moments. The struggles felt raw, the triumphs palpable. The graphic novel would not merely be her story, but a reflection of the strength inherent in all those who sought to redefine themselves. In the subsequent days, Claire's focus sharpened. She immersed herself in her project, drafting scenes that mirrored the confrontations she had endured, harnessing the catharsis she found in vulnerability. Each intersection of her past and present played a critical role in her evolution. Her interactions with James, the surprising support he had offered, each dialogue inspired the persona she created on the pages. Then, she received a message from Eric, a request to meet. Unlike before, fear did not grip her. Instead, Claire experienced a steadiness within herself, deriving strength from her accomplishments and newfound identity. She debated on whether to accept, controlling the narrative around that encounter. The empowerment she had cultivated eclipsed any residual anxiety. This was a pivotal moment, not to retreat into self-doubt, but to reinforce her growth. When the time came to meet with Eric, Claire felt prepared. She walked into the coffee shop with purpose, her heart beating steadily, an echo of self-assurance. She faced him not as the girl hurt by his dismissive words, but as a woman defined by resilience, with a spirit unbroken by past judgments. "Claire, it's been a while," he remarked, a hint of surprise lacing his words. "Yes, it has," she responded firmly. "I've changed a lot since we last spoke." As they exchanged words, Claire illuminated parts of herself that he had never acknowledged. She spoke about dreams, her graphic novel, and the powerful growth she embraced. At that moment, the conversation transformed. It wasn't just assertiveness, it was an acknowledgement of her worth. Eric's demeanor shifted, and the arrogant undertone that once defined their exchanges dissipated. Claire realized that every word she spoke was a reflection of who she was now, not just who she had been. The truth in her narrative held weight that transcended any superficial judgments he hurled in the past. With every realization and affirmation of self-worth, Claire felt an unshakable sense of accomplishment rise within her. Their conversation concluded not with bitterness, but an unexpected sense of closure. She had liberated herself from the shackles of their history. As she stepped back into the invigorating daylight, Claire felt the thrill of her authentic life unfurling before her, a canvas vibrant with possibilities. Each day unfolded like a page of her graphic novel, an adventure brimming with dreams and aspirations. The finest parts of her journey lay ahead, brighter than she had ever envisioned. Today, she could confidently wield her pen and her voice, crafting narratives that encouraged others, pushing them to introspection and healing. Claire had proven not just to Eric, but to herself, that she was capable and deserving of every aspiration she had dared to envision. She committed to sharing her journey publicly, reaching out to local community centers and aspiring writers, offering workshops fueled by her story. It was time for her voice to resonate beyond her own experiences, inspiring others to chart their courses and overcome their hurdles. And with that promise, Claire closed her eyes and breathed deeply, feeling not only empowered but transformed. She had reached a pivotal moment in her life, where self-acceptance burgeoned into undeniable confidence, and she understood that her past, no matter how tumultuous, had shaped her but did not define her. The wind whispered victory as Claire walked confidently into her future. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. You need to subscribe now.